Okay.
All right. My name is Edgar Smith, and I am going to talk about this piece right here, which is entitled Flat Cottonwood. It's a piece that kind of came from just walking through wetland areas and finding all of these downed cottonwoods where the bark was sloughed off the tree. So I started collecting these pieces, individual pieces of cottonwood, and eventually amassed quite a lot of it, and wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. Bagged it all up and brought it back to my studio and dried it out in the sun and processed it to a degree. Basically, it became almost like a jigsaw puzzle. The process of putting these individual pieces back onto a surface and make them appear more or less natural. Some pieces did not blend very well, and I put them on there and it just wouldn't work. I guess the closest thing I can think of is building a stone wall or a walkway where you have these irregular pieces, and you can make it look like it flows naturally, or there are ways to make it look terrible. Usually a linear flow in some fashion or another, it can work. But yeah, it took a while to sort of figure that part out. And I did the first one I did didn't look that great, actually. It didn't flow very well. So I like the idea too of flattening a tree, repositioning all the pieces so that it becomes like a framed thing, and formalized, I suppose. So in a way, it's kind of like this snapshot or almost a celebration of this kind of tree and the areas that I like to explore. And I don't know what their lifespan is, but they seem to grow very really fast and get quite big, and yeah, they're impressive trees. I think they're really interesting trees. A lot of my paintings reference places like this that are not necessarily the most traditionally celebrated. The things that we think of or most celebrated are perhaps mountains and picturesque scenes, rivers, and I used to paint a lot, and for several years, I guess, I did narrative style painting, and the past couple of years I've been messing around with sculptural approaches. I like calling it a painting. I think that's nice too. Yeah, I think painting works. It's painted. It's painted with white house paint. And I kind of liked when it finally dried, there were areas that were sort of irregularly colored. In other words, a little bit of the bark color was coming through, and it kind of gives it a warm sort of look in places. Other places are more white, so it has kind of a in some ways it looks a little bit like bone or something. There's no intentional focal point or area of even necessarily area of emphasis. The primary interest is to make the whole thing sort of work together as a whole. I guess it's meant to be viewed as an afocal piece. I guess is what, the idea was to make it look like a flattened tree. Although I liked the way it looked when it was just sitting there on the plywood with unpainted too. I debated about that for a number of days. And I finally decided to paint it because I wanted to remove the, you know, the I guess the direct connection to bark. For me, you know, I don't know if the viewer is going to see the narrative, but for me, because I identify with the process and where I got these things, and it's referencing these places that I visit quite a bit.
What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
My name is Edgar Smith, and I do stuff with things.